The History Things podcast is brought to you by HistoryNet, publisher of 9 different historical magazines, including the Civil War Times, American History, and Military History. Visit HistoryNet.com to learn more, or follow them on social media by searching for @history_net. Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoy the show.
Are you ready?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the History Things podcast. End of year, season 4. Winding it down here this holiday season. Guys, I am feeling the holiday cheer. Joining me in the studio to wind things down, wrap things up, celebrate a little bit of the holiday spirit with us is my co-host with the most. You know him, you love him. Ladies and gentlemen, you've probably read his books.
I hope.
Yeah, I hope you've read his books. You have definitely seen the workings of his brain as a historian, at least here on this show, and maybe you've met him out in the field as a park ranger. Guys, gals, ghouls, everybody, aliens who listens to this show, ladies and gentlemen, across from me, Matt Borders, how are you?
I'm doing awesome, Pat. It's great to be here. We've made it to the end of another season. It's been a wild ride, an extremely busy season, but we've really done our best to provide what we can, the best topics and the best speakers for our guests. And we want to thank all of you for listening.
Yeah, and I feel like it's been a big growing up year. Now, before we get into winding down, it's not just you and I hanging out in the War Department studio today. We have, once again, for you hockey fans out there, we have taken our friend out of the sin bin. We've allowed him out of the penalty box. We haven't taken the gag off yet, to be honest, because I got to get through this intro, but he's out of the physical room. Matilda fans, we're not going to revisit that on the show because I bet you he still hasn't watched the movie, but he would be in the Chokey. Just as a head shake, have you watched Matilda? Yeah, I knew it. I knew it. God. I almost don't want to introduce you on the show now. Ladies and gentlemen, our producer...
Big laugh, you know it's him.
Yeah, you know it's him. Ladies and gentlemen, our producer, Parker Russell, joins us on mic today to help us wind down. Parker, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good, except for a slight cough, slight flutter.
You getting over something?
I am getting over just a slight case of death, but other than that,
man,
I'm
those of
good.
us with kids in the public school system have definitely been taking a beating this year.
My wife works in a dental office.
Oh, so you're getting it on two
fronts.
So,
she brings it, whatever these people have in their mouths.
Wow, that sounds weird. You have a Western and an Eastern front of sickness happening in your world. I feel that. Yeah. I kind of do as well. You know, I work with the public. I got kids in the system, so. But that's not why we're here. We're not here to talk about the plagues that are ravaging the world's or Parker and mine's households. Matt, you getting beat up by anything? You work with the public.
I do work with the public, and I've been very fortunate, knock on wood, so far to be fairly okay. Definitely make sure you get your flu shots, folks. It does help.
What was that, Mercutio? What about a plague on his house? I'm sorry, what was that? No,
Good
don't
reference.
do that. Don't do that. Yeah, we are...
That's great.
We're here to take a look back, as we move into, our end of year holiday celebrations. No matter what holiday you celebrate, it is that time of year. We usually like to get reflective, get nostalgic. We have a lot of work in front of us as far as getting ready for season 5. There's, as of the moment of this recording, quite a bit of season 5 already wrapped up, nice and tight in a bow for you, ready for you to consume with your ears. So
Absolutely.
you'll have to get it as it comes out. But, there's a lot to do with that. But before we get to that, we wanted to take a moment and step back and just kind of look at the year that's been, the year we're concluding right now, that we've been fortunate enough to be able to produce for you. And as Matt said, we thank you for listening to this show as intently and as loyally as you guys do, because it allows us to continuously do it. So getting things started, right? We came out of the gate looking at a topic that we don't really talk about here in this country at all. And usually when we do, it's in relation to a different, more focused topic, and we kind of only focus on some of the observers who were there. But of course, I'm alluding to as we went to the Crimean War of the 1850s with our good friend Daryl Rivers, and we looked at this impactful moment, not just militarily, but in time. There was a lot of political impact and things like that, and we had one of the most unique individuals I've ever had the personal pleasure of talking to. Join us for a couple chats on that. Matt, Crimea, what sticks out to you? Was it Daryl himself? Because Daryl, honestly, is a personality. Got a lot in my mind. He's kind of, I want to hang out with him more.
Definitely.
I want to know more.
Definitely. Daryl's the man. And if you follow the Lord Rivers.
The Lord Rivers, as he's known in certain circles.
On Instagram or YouTube, he is definitely the sort of guy you want to know more about. He's got some great material out there. He is, I believe, currently overseas, and he has been recently going through a number of museums, posting some fantastic images. I highly recommend you check him out. Daryl did a fantastic job with us talking about the Crimean War, as Pat said. And when it comes to the Crimea, what gets me is that you're absolutely right, Pat. It's something that we don't think about much in this country, but it has a big impact on how we're going to fight the American Civil War and the technologies and experimentation that we oftentimes attribute to our great war here in the States.
That's right.
Can actually be attributed to the Crimea.
Yeah. I think what I take away from that episode was just I couldn't really believe how much I took for granted the context of the Civil War, association. I usually would only focus on it when the U.S. military observers are over there, and not realizing that is the quote, or, as Daryl put it, like the more wrapped up, clean, orderly part of the war versus the chaos at the beginning. It's like, wow, I didn't really realize there was such a dramatic change in the administration of that, or the facilitation of that war. Parker, do you know anything about Crimea or Iron Maiden that they wrote? Did you know? Because we're both musicians. Did you know that Iron Maiden wrote a song about this?
I for copyright reasons, I'm allowed to say.
Well, I got to tell you about copyright reasons in a minute. YouTube totally shut down our Daryl Rivers episode because of the not the audio clip, but because I went 1 second over the fair use of the. They were like, nope, block the video. So I got to re-edit and upload that one. Gah.
There's our first strike.
Yeah, strike number 1.
Our goal for 2024 is to not be deplatformed by June.
Yes, that's right.
That's our.
Although you just wait, YouTube. You have no idea what's coming.
We're just doing Eagle songs and Beatles numbers. That's it.
Use, it's going to get wild.
Yeah,
it's not true.
No, it's not. But no. It was it's very, very seldom that we have a peer of the realm.
That's
on
right.
On our
I think
airwaves.
Parker and Daryl are the two most eccentric people associated with the show. I think, like, personality wise, like we never know what we're going to get out of our producer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what happened in the frontier of Maine, like, affected him. I mean, it dramatically affected him. We just, and then I don't even know, like, on what planet sometimes Daryl is, because he does such work for the realm. I mean, he's just everywhere. I mean, like, how do you have that energy? Where'd you get it from?
The sun never sits on his career.
I know. I want to know what's
That's
going
good.
on.
That's really good.
Daryl was awesome.
And Daryl, we hope that's the case. We really enjoyed having you on the show.
Yeah, can't wait to have you back. But moving out of that, we moved right into the very first time we opened the History Things Tavern.
Right.
We did a couple episodes with Daryl and January, February, talking about the Crimea. And then we immediately were like, you know what we need? A break. And
Yeah.
you know what we need? We need to laugh. And so we brought our friend Matt Calorie down. A lot of you who listen to the show are familiar with the Addressing Gettysburg podcast.
Yep.
Obviously, Matt and I have had the good fortune to be on that show a few
Couple of
times.
times,
Matt
yeah.
has been on there several times because Matt moonlights as an author.
He has
Matt
a solo
also-
career.
I think Matt also.
You're like Van Halen doing the Michael Jackson Thriller, just the guitar part.
But is
You
it
just kinda lay
Eddie
down
or
some
is he
beats and
more
go.
like Sammy Hagar with the solo
Oh,
career?
no,
He's more
no.
like Eddie, just a little guest
Oh,
thing. Okay.
He's Van Halen.
All right, but
Absolutely.
can I be Eddie? Because I actually play guitar.
I'll think about it.
All right, we'll do that.
You'll be
after
Don
this.
Felder for the Eagles.
I don't know how I feel about that, but
He wrote Hotel California.
all right, okay. You moved the needle for me there, friend. That
See?
is a good
Yeah.
jam. That is a really good jam.
You're the Ace Frehley of podcasting.
All right, we're getting closer to the thing.
All right,
Sorry, look,
there
I
you
might
go.
give you
There
a
you go.
raise from negative money where you actually pay to do your job to like we might just call it.
Yeah, my wife says I can't really do that arrangement anymore. Something about mortgages. I don't really know.
Okay. Tell your wife we'll talk about it.
Okay.
All right, great. But the History Things Tavern was incredible because we got Matt Calorie down here. And one of the things that I love the most about when we sit behind microphones with Matt is that just chaos ensues.
Yeah, isn't that the truth?
It just ensues. I mean, Matt, very, very, very comfortable sitting behind a mic. You and I, very comfortable sitting behind a mic. And I don't
but
know.
the two of you together.
Yeah, I don't know what happens when I get in a room with Matt Calorie, but I just turn into this different. It's not even in a room, but when I get behind a microphone with Matt Calorie, I just turn into this different host. I mean, I'm gregarious here, but I turn into an animal when I'm around Matt Calorie. We had a few drinks, not going to lie. Me personally, I was having some St. Patty's Day celebration, but we got to talk about, stories of how the Irish Brigade would celebrate St. Patrick's Day. We got to talk about the history of it itself. We made some obscene jokes for the first time on this show that were pretty funny, not gonna lie. My face hurt for a couple weeks after that show. I was laughing so hard. So if you haven't gone back and listened to our St. Patty's Day episode, and maybe you just have a case of the blues and you need to laugh, it doesn't have to be St. Patrick's Day. Go back and listen to that one because Matt Calorie definitely gave us a good show. And rumor has it we're gonna have him back at some point. I don't know in the near future, but we're gonna be talking about something completely outside of the wheelhouse. Like you would not expect to be talking about what we would be talking about with Matt Calorie. So keep your eyes and ears peeled, for some news on that
Skincare
front.
routines.
Skincare routines.
Oh, okay.
You didn't know that he is the leading exfoliator in the country?
He sold me Avon just like 3 weeks ago.
I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it. It's good
Oh,
subscription.
he's gonna
service.
love that.
I'm sure he would. He's got great skin.
He's got great
like,
skin.
thanks for the nod, dudes.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Reach out to Matt Calorie for all your
So
Avon needs. And
right.
Tom Parker sent you.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys should reach out. Please reach out to the Addressing Gettysburg podcast to place Avon orders. Tell them you're looking for the best skincare routines
Use
possible.
code word Parker.
Yeah,
for that
yeah.
one.
You can tell them to use the sales code History Things Podcast. Tell them Matt and Pat
jeez.
Parker.
Yeah.
He'll work it out
And
for
this
you.
is where the beef began.
Yes. This is the villain origin story.
Yeah, we just developed the origin story.
We open up our bed in the morning and there's just like a bottle of exfoliating. It's like the horse's head. It's less dramatic, but it's
Yeah,
it's
the bottle
same
of
message.
the bottle of nail polish remover is off.
Same question or same message nonetheless. So we woke up from the hangovers and the laugh riot that was the History Things Taverns St. Patty's Day special, which, by the way, we are opening the pub, the tavern again this St. Patrick's Day. It's not going to be as raucous of an affair because we're getting into the Easter Rising of 1916, which is a very sober story. But we do have some fun. It is St. Patty's Day. There will be shenanigans on the microphone for the St. Patrick's Day episode. So tune in for that one. Moving out of St. Patty's Day, guys, we went into Lusitania. We came back to big ships,
Yep.
and we let Parker kind of steer us through that one.
And I took a big ship right on the air
You did actually.
And
We
you
got
don't have
into
to
one of
blur
our
it?
first.
because I said ship. With a P. Yeah.
I mean, that's why, because he made a good joke. He said, what you're experiencing right now is called the Matt disappointment acknowledgement.
I'm
Yes.
as a Star Trek fan.
He is.
I'm familiar. This is the Picard. This is the Captain Picard face palm.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
Okay. You
Yes.
lost me, not gonna lie.
yeah.
But
That's okay.
Matt is acknowledging what you said was right and
Mhm.
at the same time.
Mm.
I'm used to this
Yeah.
because I
Big
do this
sigh.
to
Yes,
Matt.
Big
yeah.
sigh.
This the sigh.
But
I apologize.
what I found unique on this show, especially listening, I didn't really realize it in the editing process. I'm sorry, in the real moment it was happening, but in the editing process, we got to kind of do an open discourse for like the first time on our show because you and I didn't see things the same way. Then
And then my family turned on me.
Then I turned the microphones off, and I physically beat you up. And then your family physically and emotionally beat you up, and they said things like, "Dad, you're so wrong." No, that
even
part
my
is only.
in-laws turned against me. It was it was the whole family. There was like, you're just wrong about this.
For the record, that was not my goal. Just a
Yes,
friend
it
to
is.
friend.
Yes,
It was
it
not
is.
my goal, but
Yes, it
we
is.
definitely had an open discourse
It's
about.
no use winning if you can't win big.
You know what? You're right.
You're not first, you're
WWO champ.
last.
You're
Yeah.
right. I am the world champion of podcasting. God, I don't know why I tried to be humble for a second.
No
You're
use
right, Parker.
winning if you can't win big.
That's right, exactly. No, but what we did was normally we don't really get into like fleshing out a difference of opinion on the show. We kind of maybe acknowledge it, not necessarily tiptoe around it, but we're not here to like argue or debate. It's just we're here to tell stories, but we allowed for a moment of kind of debate. And it was actually spectacular.
Actually, it was, because what I really found interesting is
Was being wrong?
Well, no, I have been married for what? 15 years ish. I'm
So
used
you're
to
used to
being
being
wrong.
wrong.
You're right.
I that's my life.
Me too. I understand that.
And so the thing that I really found interesting is that like I seem to remember, and my memory's a little foggy, but it's coming back to me now. I seem to remember some people actually thought that we were fighting. Like I ran into some people who were like,
With
you
your
and Pat
car?
were fighting on the air.
Yeah.
And I thought that was just like, I thought that was real. Like Pat and I were never fighting. We just have a difference of opinion.
Can I give you my difference of opinion
Oh,
right now?
here we go. All right.
We were fighting.
Well, we
were fighting.
We weren't fighting.
No, we weren't fighting.
We were
I'm
not
just kidding.
fighting.
I was kidding.
That's something I'm scared about, is because I don't want people to think that we're just like the Eagles, fighting behind the scenes
here we
and
go.
stuff, But no,
Right
you
now,
know,
that's the
you are the
second
Don
reference of
Felder.
the
You
show.
are the Don
That's
Felder,
right.
right?
There it is.
And the Ace Frehley.
That's right.
No, but for real though, like I think it was kind of funny that people actually thought that we were like, like this was affecting like our podcasting, like
No, but it's funny because like I enjoyed listening to it, and I got a number of compliments. They're like, you know what, it was kind of neat to like listen to that, because there's a ton of people that live in those camps, right? The the who bears responsibility or doesn't, obviously we leaned into that on a personal level a little bit, but like it was kind of neat to do that, and I wonder. Not that we're guaranteeing that'll ever happen on the show again, but like I wonder if there is a place for having that kind of open conversation about things, because it was kind of neat. If everybody stays rational and admits they're wrong, like our producer did, then it all works out.
Well, the coolest
kidding,
thing. I mean, the coolest thing about doing this. I mean, for me, is the thing. It's what I would encourage anyone to do. Being the Titanic guy, the White Star Line guy,
Right.
The big ship guy,
The huge steamy ship guy.
a huge 4-funneled steaming ship guy.
Yep. First thing in
I mean,
the
if I
morning
was going to
ship.
take one, I would take a huge 4-funneled
huge-
steaming ship.
Okay.
Right in the morning.
Anyway,
By the way, I gotta take a ship when this is over.
Gentlemen.
Anyway, but no, the thing I would encourage anybody to do though is like I grew up. I mean, some of my earliest memories of the Titanic lore, and it came from a show from the early '80s called Voyager, and they painted Bruce Ismay as a total villain, right? And that kind of painting, that caricature of him being like this mustache twirling villain, literally twirling his mustache, was I mean the fact now is that I am a total Ismay apologist now,
Right.
and that's what I encourage anybody whenever.
But that also happened through a bit of arguing.
Well, it did, but it was, but it was more like, wow, I can't believe I was lied to. I was never mad at you. I was mad at the fact that all people
Can you
who
not
lied
just
to
single
me.
me out? Matt kind of came at you hard too during that production.
Okay, I was not mad at the collective you.
Maybe we'll do a
I was-
behind the scenes of the White Star episode, and you'll realize Matt and I were kind of the killer of dreams in the production of that one.
No, they were dreams that needed to die.
All right.
I mean, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
But I didn't
mean,
bury
there's-
all the daggers myself. I just want to state that for the
No,
record.
no.
My
But
co-host
there's
actually, professional
there is-
fencer over here, was devastating with his
Listen,
Not
blades.
professional. That's
listen. I think it's just because. I think it's just because the way it plays out on air that people think that you're the aggressor and you're not.
I am though.
Yeah, it's true.
it doesn't help when you then say that you
Then they
are.
say you are.
But no, there was no aggression. There was no hard feelings. I was emotional because I've been lied to for, we'll say 30 something years. But no, I was lied to for like 40 years of my life. I was lied to, And that's a little emotional.
Well, you want
right?
to know more about that? Go back and listen to that episode, because not only did we do that episode, but we also did a kind of first for us, the YouTube watch along, right? So what we did was we found a really cool digital recreation of the sinking of Lusitania that was done by Titanic Animations. Shout out to those guys. They've done a number of digital recreations just to kind of show you
very good stuff,
other
very
shipwrecks and things like that. And they're an incredible visual resource if you're just trying to sort of see stuff. But what we did was kind of like the TikTok kids and the YouTube kids. They do like watch alongs, watch throughs, and we did it. We just watched their animation and kind of did some commentary on it, and that was a pretty neat experience.
And lucky for us too, the Lusitania only took like 17 minutes to sink, so that live stream is not too long.
Yeah, it's actually one of our more digestible pieces of content out there.
So that's something I encourage you guys to watch, because that's a first for us.
Yeah, so go to our YouTube channel.
And I think it was a first for us, live out of the gate. Hey, let's just try this, and we did it, and I think it came out really good. And it's like you said, it's easily digestible.
Matt and I are about to reintroduce the show to everybody in a few weeks here, because we're heading into season 5, and we talk about winging it and going with the flow and just seeing what works. And that was definitely an example of something and it worked. We enjoyed that. We don't have a plan for doing it again, but like the next time we find the right opportunity,
the next time the Lusitania sinks,
right? The next time we find an opportunity to do a watch through, we know that that's something we can produce for you, and do it in an enjoyable manner. So we moved from there into what would become a 2-episode discussion on Major John Rollins, with our friend Melissa Wynn, who at the time of this conversation started was with the company History Net, who was the publisher of 9 historical magazines, things like that. And when we caught up with her for part 2 of the chat, she then had gotten on board at American Battlefield Trust.
Right. So she is just building her career and keeping with the history themes and her really good skills as a photographer and presenter, and she gave us a great program about John Rollins.
What did she say about Rollins, Matt?
In what sense?
Do you remember?
Oh, no Rollins, no Grant.
No Rollins, no Grant. And I feel like we titled one of our episodes that maybe, but I'm not sure. But what was neat about that is normally when we sit down with a guest from multiple offerings, those offerings kind of come out back to back. We got to space this one out because our summer got busy and Melissa was in the middle of a position change with companies.
Right.
We were like, you know what? We're going to chat. Let's just ride some things out and we'll get back to it. When we got back to it, it was actually kind of a unique experience to come back to a topic versus doing both topics and trying to pretend we've spent some time away from it. We actually had spent time away from it. And I think it provided a really neat conversation. So if you want to talk about Major John Rollins, his effect on General, and then for a moment, President Grant, the campaigns they're both involved in the Civil War, highly recommend those. Melissa was a fantastic storyteller.
Touched on the memory of Rollins or lack thereof.
Yeah, which was an incredible story, dude. Does he get shafted, Matt?
Well, and I think Melissa touched on that a bit. It is still Grant's memoirs, and Grant was taken to task by some of his friends and compatriots about not including Rollins, but he is, again, Grant is still the author, so it's his story to tell. And why or why not he does not include Rollins very much is very much a subject of debate, and I think Melissa did a really great job laying all that out.
Do you think it's lame, personally?
I think it's unfortunate, absolutely.
I think it's lame. Like, that dude was like your boy in some pretty dark moments. You didn't even really mention his name in the book, like grimy.
Especially somebody as cool as Grant.
Yeah, like it's like everybody involved is cool.
It's like when you find out that it's like when you find out that your friend Pat thinks that Germany isn't responsible for sinking the Lusitania.
I mean, they are responsible, but like my argument was a little bit more nuanced.
A little more nuanced.
It's called hyperbole. It's called hyperbole.
And then
Strawman argument.
We
Pat
hung out with
McGuire supports sinking ships.
Yes. Pat McGuire wants to sink every British vessel in World War One.
You know what, guys?
He's him and Zimmerman just like this.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So then we hung out with you guys in the middle of the year. We caught you up to speed on what was going on. And really what that was That was a prep. You know what that was? That was a prep, because where did we go immediately into the second half? Matt, we have avoided this battlefield, this battle. Man, we avoided it like the plague we joked about at the beginning of the show for years. Partly out of a professional courtesy to some friends of ours, and partly because, honestly, Matt and I just have interests that lie elsewhere. But
the fact of the matter is,
$30 for that, by the way. Thank you very much. I'm just kidding.
Sorry.
Right. The fact of the matter is that it was the 160th of the battle.
Which battle?
The Battle of Gettysburg.
Yes, acknowledge it. God damn it.
So we needed to do something, and so we began what we referred to all summer as the Blitz.
The Blitz.
And had multiple episodes tied into the Battle of Gettysburg, but we didn't take it on like I shouldn't say a normal or standard way. We actually brought in some really interesting speakers to talk about different aspects. So we did do a catch-all. This is the battle at 30,000 feet or so, with, of course, famed historian, former park ranger, Scott Hartwig.
That was incredible.
Yep.
We are recording this episode on the same day we had another legend sitting in this studio. And let me tell you, I'm right now riding the same high I was riding when we sat down with Scott Hartwig to talk about this battle. It was a lifelong dream that I didn't even know I was needing to have realized. And when it was being realized in front of me, I was like, I hope this is as special for our listeners as it is for me personally right now. Episode 1 with him, just a straight 3-hour lesson on the battle. It was incredible.
Yep. Scott did a fantastic job.
Personal interpretation, man.
Now, with the ongoing Blitz, we actually wanted to get out and find some of those more unique stories of the campaign. And a mutual friend of ours, who's actually the head of education and programming, I believe, there up at the Seminary Museum of Gettysburg, Cody Aish, we had him out to talk about the ride of Alexander Hayes.
Incredible story.
Incredible
Amazing.
Story. The most pronounced kind of finger, if you will, to the Confederacy.
Parker, which finger would that be that we're talking about?
It would be this one right here.
Is it the middle one or
It
the
would be
left one?
It would be the middle.
It's the
It
middle
would be the
one.
middle finger.
Yep.
Was it a double one, Matt?
Oh, it might as well have been. Now, he was holding some banners down, so he couldn't necessarily do a double, but it was
banners
definitely...
is flags for you laymen out there. So he's dragging rebel flags, and everybody else is shotgunning beers behind him.
Yeah.
That part's not true. But the flags part
Because
is
instantly
true.
he was transplanted to like Alabama for some
Yeah,
reason.
I don't
They're
know,
like,
man, but-
"Yeah, we're going to drag the flag."
That was an incredible moment in the war. It was an incredible moment in the studio because Cody is amazing.
Yeah.
A
at
great storyteller,
storytelling.
great historian. That's exactly right.
Got a pretty good beard too. Not gonna lie.
Oh, solid beard.
Like as a beard wearer, Parker's got a good one. I've got a good one.
I can't do one.
Sorry, buddy. But Cody's got a really good one. It's really well cropped. It's like manicured and cropped.
Absolutely.
And it like flows into his hair nice. And as somebody who has no hair, I'm just jealous of the whole flow. Like it's good. It's good, bro. And both Scott and Cody were gracious enough to meet us somewhere. And I got a follow-up question for you in a minute, Matt. But they were kind enough to meet us in our From the Fields.
That's
you know?
right. One of the aspects that we were able to jump back into this summer as part of our Blitz was our From the Fields episodes. And those episodes are out on our YouTube channel. I encourage you guys to check that out. But both Scott Hartwig and Cody Aish met us out on the field of Gettysburg where these stories and events occurred. We had a fantastic talk with Scott near on the first day's battlefield.
Yeah, like out at Herbst Woods, I believe,
Yep.
right? Yep.
Not far from where Cody actually works on the seminary.
Yes, where we went later the day.
Right. And Cody took us over to where the Hayes ride occurred and then brought us back to the museum. Pat got to have his first experience up in the cupola.
Can we talk about that for a minute?
I'm so jealous.
No, can we talk about, yes, we will get you up there. I promised that to you that day when we knew you couldn't be there.
Yeah.
And I do feel bad that they just didn't work out. We will get you there. But
I didn't feel that bad.
I'm going, dude, let me tell you why. This leads into the story. This
Matt,
is
I
perfect.
appreciate your honesty.
Because listen, man, I literally am telling Matt to his face how excited I am that we're going to do this and blah, blah, blah. And it's going to be the first time. And Matt, we're going to get to do this for the first time together. And Matt literally is like, it's not my first time. And I was like, what? And he's like, I've been here before. And it was like the most crushing because and he let me for like a straight 3 minutes be excited because me and my friend, my mate, the guy we do this show with,
Yeah.
oh man, what a cool experience. We're here together. And he's like, I've actually already done it.
Yeah.
And I was like, God damn it.
Cody was very gracious to have me up that winter to go through the museum and took me around for several hours. It was a very good time. But think about this, Pat. It allowed you guys to have that experience, and I got to film it.
That's right. You got to step
because
away.
I had to keep the camera from flying away.
Let's not acknowledge the total sentimental. You got to do this. Like Mother Nature was bringing a gale upon us, and we're trying to film up there. And my tripod for the camera rig is sturdy. And the wind was like, your tripod is a joke. And so it was that kind of day. So a sentimental Matt, thank you, but also needed you to hold that down, buddy.
Absolutely.
No,
Well,
we'll get you there. Don't.
Well, gentlemen, just answer me this.
Do you want a hug?
Was it good ground?
It was great ground.
Was it the best damn ground you'd seen all day?
Jokes like that.
See, I missed all the jokes.
And I literally made jokes like, God, I hope we hold. Like Reynolds better be here. Like all this stuff. I forget the exact quotes because I had watched.
Attack.
Well, I had watched Gettysburg the night before to kind of get ready. I'll tell you this before we move on from Gettysburg. What was really
we're not done yet.
I know, okay. What was really cool about that experience for me was the fact that when we pitched to Scott that, hey, we want to record 2 podcast episodes with you, he was gracious enough to say yes.
Yeah,
right? Because we
was.
did 2 episodes, right? We did the overview, we did the memory.
Right.
And then we were like, you know what? We're feeling a little bold. He definitely had a good time in the studio.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if he wants to meet us in the field. And so we went conservative. We were like, will you meet us so we can do like a 20-minute or less kind of blurb, 15, 20 minutes of your time? And he was like, yes. And that was kind of the end of the conversation. And we literally shot 90 minutes worth of material with him. Like he was like, you want to know more? You want to know more? You want to know more? Like we just kept filming. We were like, yeah. And then he's like, let's move over here. We were like, of course. And then he's like, well, this tour's coming. Let's get out of their way and let's continue talking. And we were like, of
this
course.
is how much this is how much of a superstar Scott is up at Gettysburg. He's been retired for a number of years now, but he still knows all the guides and all the rangers up there, and we couldn't move 5 feet without somebody coming up or yelling out for him and things like that.
That was my favorite part. Mid-interpretation, without breaking the words he's saying, somebody sees him and he just acknowledges them with the greatest, smoothest hand wave ever. And I was like, God, this guy is like, I want to be you, dude. Like, I want to be me, but like, I want to have like the skill that you have to do that. Like, that was just so good. And again, like the guest we had in studio today, legendary John Hoptak, also from Gettysburg National Military Park. He was in our studio today for recording to talk about the 48th Pennsylvania, the miners, right? And you'll hear me just completely in awe during that episode. That entire episode you're going to hear, he has no notes in front of him. Like, no notes. Like, those dudes play on a different plane, a different level of existence. And it was so personally humbling, not just to get him in the studio and to my house. Like, I'm not going to lie, like, I just got artwork at my house. It was incredible.
Twice. On the way home from the recording.
Did you follow him? Did you get his tag numbers?
No. I called my dad. Like, that's how I was like,
yeah, dude, right? Like,
we just interviewed Scott Hartwick.
Dude, like he signed the War Department studio wall. Like I see it all the time, and I'm like, that's here, man. Like, if I move from this house, that piece of drywall is getting cut out.
I was just thinking that.
There's a bunch of names that I would cut it out for, but absolutely Scott Hartwick. I would cut it out for that name alone if I had no other great names up there. But
I've been a guest on your show now a number of times. But and my name is not on this wall.
You know what?
That's your fault, dude. You
First
work
of
here.
all, you do need to sign that because you did. You know what? Let's discuss this off the air because you know what? And you know what? Let's do this. Let's ask the jury of our peers, the audience, to decide this for us. Are we ready?
Okay.
Okay. You have never been a guest of the show in this studio where you were not also part of the show itself.
Oh, that's true.
Oh, so
you appeared on our show as a guest in season 1 when you were unaffiliated.
In the closet.
In the closet studio.
I was in the closet with both of you.
You were in the closet with us. It was a good time, man.
It was great.
It's a great time. 7 minutes.
Don't forget, Avon, Code Parker.
Yeah. But Matt and I both have also not signed that wall, and we've both been storytellers. So you, the listener, should Matt, Parker, and Pat, myself, sign the wall of our own studio since we have led episodes within its coveted sacred walls? Or
I think you should because
personal opinion.
What's that?
Personal opinion?
Yeah,
I think we should omit.
Okay.
Perhaps
Matt votes omit.
Yeah, perhaps Parker.
I abstain.
You know what? I'm okay with not signing it because like I do work here. It's a little bit like when you enter a contest and you work for the company and they're like, you can't win. It's yeah.
All right, let's do that.
I'll be the Michael Collins. You guys will just be the Neil and Buzz. Okay.
Listen, man, I'm Irish. When you say Michael Collins, my immediate response was
different direction.
My immediate response was, "I am the Michael Collins, sir. You are not the Michael Collins."
Well, I'm referring to
astronaut Michael Collins.
I'm referring to the.
I'm referring to the big fella.
The other.
Yeah, I'm referring
Collins.
to the big fella.
I'm referring to the guy who actually
murdered,
went around the moon a couple of times.
murdered and turned into the martyr for the Republic of Ireland.
Oh.
Yes. Anyway.
Never heard of it.
We'll get to I'm going to pause this recording. And we come back.
And we're back. And my teeth are gone.
Great man.
My teeth are gone.
Yeah, just smack the smack
It's
out of
the
him.
English blood in me. I couldn't resist. I'm sorry.
I'll get you one day, friend.
So pushing through with
days,
the
Alice.
Blitz, we did decide to step away from Gettysburg though for a brief time.
That's right.
Yep.
Because it's warranted in July. It's not
Absolutely.
the only thing that happens.
Exactly. And we pulled in a buddy of mine, the former now, he is now the chief of Interp at
Chief? You said chief?
chief of Interp at Mill Spring Battlefield.
Very cool.
A very new National Park Service site. But Andrew had been at Vicksburg.
That's right, Ranger Andrew Miller.
Yep. So we pulled Andrew in, had him talk in regards to the Vicksburg campaign, and most importantly, the most glorious Fourth.
That's right, the most glorious Fourth. We're talking Vicksburg, folks.
And to his credit, he did tie in the other victories of course, Gettysburg there and the celebrations on July 4th. But the fall of Vicksburg on July 4th, 1863 will split the Confederacy. The Mississippi will soon, not quite yet, but very soon, flow once more unvexed to the sea. So it's a big, big role in the American Civil War, and we wanted to bring in the professionals to talk about that one. So Andrew did a great job for us, gave us a bunch of hours of his time. Very much appreciated.
Yeah, and actually did a disservice to my commentary back on Melissa's run. The second time we caught up with her, we focused on Grant and Rawlins through their siege, through the campaign of Vicksburg. Right. So we actually came to Vicksburg twice. Mm-hmm. We did one overview with Andrew, which was incredible, and we kind of focused back on that Grant-Rawlins dynamic through the lens of that whole campaign. So just kind of getting into Vicksburg was an incredible experience, because for those of you Gettys nerds who can't move past the fact that the 3 days in July aren't the entire Civil War.
You get that out of your system, bud?
That was a Howard Dean moment right there. I just want you to know your political career is
over.
Done.
What a reference, dude.
Wow.
That was a good reference.
I might not recover from that.
Wow.
But it's important, right? Like we acknowledge it. Like there's so much more to this war, and what happens in July in Vicksburg, and honestly the weeks preceding it, but they're just as critically important. And it was great. Mm-hmm. It was absolutely great to get to focus on not just that story, but the two stories together.
Right.
And that leads me to my follow-up that I mentioned a minute ago, Matt. We did our first ever Blitz. You know, when we started the show, you used to get very uncomfortable with much more than the doing it once a quarter. And then we kind of stretched into once a month, and that's kind of where we live about right now. And I was like, what if we do like 3 episodes in 5 days? And you punched me in the face. And you said, I say so. It was pretty violent. No, but I said it. And what was great was you didn't immediately say no. You actually were kind of like, tell me more.
Right.
And like, I kind of
What's the plan?
Well, I pitched it to you and you were like, let's actually try it. And it worked. And like, we're putting together a blitz, a summer blitz for season 5 here. Not totally fleshed out what we're going to do exactly, but we've decided we're going to do it. And then because we were in the spirit of doing the blitz, we were like, what if we kind of continue this through the whole summer and we just rebrand it? And we called it, so we did the July Blitz and then we did the August Offensive, right? Because, you know, we like to have clever titles for things since we're a shticky podcast now. And we once again we released, like, I think not 3 in 5 days, but at that point I think we did an episode a week through August, more or less. And
Pretty
we'll
close.
get to that in a minute. But what was it like producing at a rate like that? You know, kind of having offerings come out, because I know that's very much not what's your comfort box with production here at the show.
No, it was good. Honestly, it was an interesting change of pace. We had really a great summer to do it. We had a really good summer to do that sort of thing. And it was important to do it at that point. Being a 160th commemoration for Gettysburg, for Vicksburg, for all those big fights in the summer of 63, we wanted to cover that. And we had the opportunity to work with some great people. So we're going to be utilizing that as best we could, and we did.
Matt, are you ready for me to open a Guinness live in the year-end show?
I wondered if that's what you were going to do.
It's about to happen. Liberty, listen up. Ah, yes. Being the nitro pour, we're going to be pouring the perfect pint live here on the History Things podcast. I do appreciate you, Matt, stepping out of your comfort zone to do the Blitz with us, because one of the things that I am in the production creative world is a history shark. So I like to go.
You do that.
Never stop. Mind you, I am pouring.
Podcast shark.
That's right. I am
Sorry.
pouring this pint behind you as we're talking here. But like, I definitely am needing to do more. I can't really stop. It's not in my nature. And this was an opportunity where I actually had a sales pitch for Matt to like warrant doing the go. And unfortunately for Matt, it worked, which means it's, when we do things on the show and experiment and they work, we will at least give them a second opportunity. So not that the Blitz will stay around forever, but there's definitely one happening in season 5 because it worked out so well for us in season 4. And it was kind of nice actually hanging out with you guys a little more frequently.
That's true.
Being able to hear more frequent interaction just because the episodes are coming out more frequently. So who knows what the future holds with us there. But the Blitz and the Offensive were both kind of some really cool experiences. And in the August Offensive portion of that, we got to go into one of my favorite topics. And no disrespect to any of the episodes we've ever recorded, but we kind of accidentally might have recorded what might be my favorite episode only because of my personal and emotional involvement in it. So, Parker, we talked earlier, and we've joked a number of times about the Killer of Dreams when we produced the White Star episode and things like that. Behind the scenes, before we got to recording the episode I'm about to reference, there had been a fair amount of dream killing for me on a personal level, but we got to go through the legend, the story of one of my favorite historical figures, and we got to do it in a pretty honest and very real way, right? You think about the way we're supposed to do things as researchers and historians. It's supposed to be like blank, and do this, primary source that, and with this guy, it seems like we almost never did that. And of course, I'm talking about the legendary pirate Blackbeard.
Right.
I mean, we took a look at the pirate, the myth, the legend, the stories behind him, and we were taken on this incredible journey by author Kevin P. Duffus, who, not gonna lie, is one of the most thorough individuals I've ever had the pleasure of speaking to in terms of like presenting their research in a way that is equally dense and digestible. Like, we've had some dense ones on here. Some people might be stuck in the mud someplace in France still. And we've had some digestible ones here, some less than an hour squeakers in here. Mm-hmm. But, somewhere in the middle of all that, there's a world where you can be equally dense and equally sort of digestible. And the 4 hours, as that doesn't sound digestible when you say it, but the 4 hours of story we got talking about this pirate, going through the historical record was incredible. I mean, almost everything we know and accept about Blackbeard the pirate is wrong.
Right.
Or never happened in the way or at all. And that was a super incredible experience for me because I love pirates. It's, we joke about it all over the show. And if you know me in real life, I don't think I've been anything other than a pirate for Halloween for like the last decade of my life. It's just, I love pirates, both historically and the Disney version. And this was kind of a cool moment to take a look at the real pirate of Blackbeard and not the Disney version that a lot of us know and love. So that was pretty neat. And then we followed up that 4-hour banger with another 4-hour banger, which we don't usually give you 2 of the heavies right in a row, but we brought our friend Eric Money, the guy you've heard us talk about a number of times here. He's been on the show. He was part of our 9/11 episode. He literally helped us build the podcast studio.
His desk right here.
Help me finish my whole basement. Shout out to you, big guy. But he's really passionate about the Pennsylvania Reserves, Matt. Why is this unit unique? Like, why was this unit so special that it warranted an episode that went 4 hours?
Well, Eric's a great researcher and presenter, and he was able to give us that amount of time. But the PA Reserves, they're super important because that was Pennsylvania not only acknowledging the need and the importance of having troops available, but having them ready to go. That was the state of Pennsylvania's forces. They have already sent in their quota of troops for the war effort up until that point, and Pennsylvania acknowledged, you know what? We're going to need some more guys.
They're going to need to do this, yeah.
And so they're going to develop the PA Reserves, or the Pennsylvania Reserve Corps, as it was first known. This collection of regiments, mostly infantry, but at least one cavalry and a battery as well. These troops are going to fight under that designation of the Pennsylvania Reserves, though they will get a proper state regimental designation as well, though you don't oftentimes hear those numbers referenced.
That's right. That was a really fun experience for me on a lot of levels. It was cool to see Eric be the storyteller publicly that I know him to be privately. Eric is a better friend of mine. I love the guy. I don't get to see him nearly as often as I want to because we live pretty far apart now, but he is not just the grumpy guy that most of you know outwardly. Eric is a beautiful individual. He's a thoughtful human, and he was a very thorough researcher. And he was very mindful between all the jokes and the laughs, some of them at my expense for once, which I know Matty B loved. Eric was absolutely exquisite in relating the story that honestly it's fascinating in its own right. It's chock full of drama. It's chock full of successes and failures, personalities, things like that, which that's pretty vague. I'll admit that description because what I'm not trying to do is tell you the episode now. I want you to go and listen to Eric talk about this unit, but it was just kind of neat to see publicly somebody that I know and care about do that for you all when he pretty much only just kind of BS's to his friends about this stuff. And it's like, it was good to encourage somebody to do something they don't normally do. And Eric was phenomenal. And we heard from so many of you specifically about this episode. And it was incredibly validating. And what I have done is I have made sure I didn't tell Eric about any of the validation we got because he is my friend, but he is also a giant tool. And I do not want to give him any credit. I'm just kidding. I love you, big guy. We passed along that this was one of our, in terms of feedback, one of our most impactful ones. Like we got a ton of feedback about how much they enjoyed this episode, social media commentary. And I kind of chuckled that it's like the most unassuming, outwardly person got us some of the best interaction we've had on this show with our listener base. So shout out to Eric Money just for delivering a bomb for us, like a good one, man. Like you came in here, you rocked it, and I learned a lot because I don't really focus on the units of the American Civil War. I am an atmosphere guy. 30,000 feet is where I kind of like to stay. I do like getting down in it, but you know me, when I'm trying to talk to the average person, my personal perspective is there's no point in getting down in the minutia if they don't even understand what's happening.
All right.
So I like to spend a lot of time figuring out what's happening. And Eric was really good at helping me understand both some minutia and on what's happening at 30,000 feet as far as the state of Pennsylvania.
Yep.
Which was really cool to do those things simultaneously. And I highly encourage you to spend all 4 hours listening with your windows up so that you get the best audio quality you can. He's got a lot of information. You don't want to lose any of it in the wind of your car with your windows down. Put the air conditioning on or the heat because it's wintertime.
Just find someplace 4 hours that you need to drive to for 4 hours.
Or just spend a week with Eric Money. Actually, when you say it out loud like that, maybe don't spend a week with Eric Money. Like, I love Eric.
Eric doesn't want anybody to spend a week with him.
Eric doesn't want to spend a week with Eric Money. God. No, Eric, if you want to come down here and fight me, that's cool, man. We'll fight, and then we'll have a couple of beers and hang out at the campfire. Love you, big dude. But moving out of that, we got into the end of the year. We got into the final quarter, and Matt's favorite production we've ever done on this show began.
This was so very challenging for me because it was so outside my comfort zone.
Yeah.
But we were very, very pleased to have the head of cooking with the First Ladies herself, Sarah Morgan, on the show. We decided ahead of time that we wanted to touch on maybe not Mrs. Lincoln.
Yeah,
because that seemed like it would be the obvious go-to.
Yeah, we went to our second obvious go-to. We went to our second lowest hanging fruit.
Right.
Yeah.
So we went with Edith Wilson.
Right. Yeah. Shocker.
And the recipes and interests she had in the war, or excuse me, during that time of World War I. And what Sarah did was not only provided us recipes for Edith Wilson and what's going on in the White House at the time, but she then provided some additional information about what the country is experimenting with, and for almost like not meals ready to eat per se, but more like meal replacements.
Right.
And so not only did we have a more professional or more cooking in the traditional sense, but then we got this weird amalgamation of vegetable chocolate bars.
Yes, yes. I enjoyed that whole conversation because two things. One, it set up what would become the greatest thing I think we've ever done on this show. And it was a complete just anarchy in its production. But one, I learned that Edith Wilson was kind of a rules for me but not for thee kind of gal. And that was kind of interesting, especially at the age that the country is going through with women's empowerment, voting and things like that. Like, Edith was not the feminist you'd think she would be.
Right.
And that was kind of like, whoa, and that was kind of cool to be thrown a curveball like that. And not only was that a curveball to learn, but Sarah did a good job kind of pitching the curveball as a storyteller. That really caught me off guard. But at the end of that episode, having learned what we learned about her and honestly Mrs. Coolidge, she did talk about more than just Edith Wilson. We got into Mrs. Coolidge and her literal pet raccoons. Parker, if I said that we have a raccoon problem in the White House, but it's not a wild raccoon, it's my pet raccoon and it's biting people, and I said, I need you to solve this problem. How would you solve this problem?
Well, I'd get you another raccoon to mate with.
As a rational person would, right? So obviously that worked out for the Coolidges.
Oh, yeah.
But it was just credible
Keep
to
it cool with Coolidge.
That's right. It was wild and incredible to be like, so the Mrs. Coolidge had a pet raccoon.
Yeah.
Okay. Obviously, that thing's biting people. And when she said that, I was like, well, duh. But the solution was, hey, it's lonely.
More raccoons.
And they actually brought in a second raccoon. I was like, this is the United States of America. This is the White House. No, that's a very real story, by the way. Go ask Sarah yourself. She'll tell you all about it. It was incredible. But at the end of that episode, we said, we asked...
Tons of odd pets at the White House, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes, over time.
Prairie dogs. Jefferson had the prairie dogs that Lewis and Clark sent back.
I'm prairie dogging right now, friend. I got to take a shit when the
You got to take the four-funneled steamer.
Matt.
I really hope this episode is not a four-funneled steamer.
Matt, no. When we laugh, we have a good time. At the end of that episode, we asked, if there were a few recipes, a few things that Edith Wilson was either known for making, liked to make, or just happened during her time as First Lady that were, that would be cool to maybe say, do live for a show. Maybe we'll make them kind of like a cooking show.
Right. And this was
great
the challenge.
idea.
This was the challenge for me because I really did not want to do the cooking. Not that I can't cook. I can cook to a basic sense, but Sarah has so much skill and so much knowledge. I'm like, I'm going to screw this up.
Matt really does not like to appear outwardly like an amateur. It's either like I do this professionally or I don't do it at all. And
that's a pretty good analysis.
Look, a lot of people are that way. I'm not taking a dig at you in that moment with that. Like I try to do that as well. Like I don't like to kind of half-ass stuff publicly. Like I'd rather just be really good at it, or I don't really get.
You want a whole ass stuff publicly.
Yeah, I would like the whole ass things. But it was definitely. I would say there's not many times on this show where I've actually kind of pushed you to do something that you didn't
you
want
did
to
this
do.
time.
And this was one of those times I did, and I'm glad I did it. And I'm glad that it worked out, because I know that during the process, and I did thank you very personally. I was like, thank you for making this work, because it was weird, man. We had scheduling conflicts like crazy, communication issues. We couldn't figure out sound stuff for a while. Like it was just weird. And then at no point did we actually talk about what the flow of the moment of recording would look like. So we were just kind of winging it with these weird gasps. But shout out to Sarah. Shout out to you. Even shout out to Parker for running
doing
cameras.
all the technical behind the scenes.
Yeah. And stepped in when I couldn't figure out how to separate eggs, whites, and yolks. And I don't know what I'm doing. But what we ended up doing was making those 3 recipes, making them in real time. We failed at one.
Yep.
By the time this is out, we redid the pudding. I hope you're going to enjoy it in a few weeks when you see us kind of revisit this right around Christmas itself. But it was neat. So we got to do 2 episodes with her to kind of wrap up our year. But before we get out of here for the review of this year, it wasn't the only Sarah we talked to at the end of the year. We split up the cooking conversation with spooky season.
That's right. And our own producer, Parker Russell, caught us this one. And what a great job you did, too.
Why, thank you.
Because Sarah Miller was awesome.
She was incredible.
Parker, take this one away. Talk to us about Sarah.
So my cousin Chris knows Sarah Miller personally, and Sarah Miller has a new book out, and I was like, wait a minute.
So Sarah's an author. You just completely whiffed on this. It's like you're just like talking about Sarah. Like our listeners have no clue who Sarah Miller is. She's an author.
Is an author.
She's an incredible author
who has taken on a number of historical subjects, and her take on the Lizzie Borden case. Again, like I was saying earlier, I think so many people just assume Lizzie Borden went to jail or was hung or whatever. They just know the song and that's it. Lizzie Borden,
and only the first stanza of the song. I didn't know there was a second stanza.
Yeah. So it was really cool. Like I was saying about the Ismay stuff, like all this stuff. It is so cool when somebody can come in and show you the evidence, show you the research, and Sarah Miller has been she's been referenced by a lot of good shows, and like her work's been out there for a while. She was so cool, to come and hang out with us and to change some of our minds. My mind was in this one. You guys, the crazy thing about this
I'm not gonna lie. I thought she was guilty at the moment we hit record, and at the end I was like, not guilty.
The crazy thing about this whole thing is that you guys are the ones who taught me. Don't take it just at face value. Do your research. Put your time in. And I researched everything, and I looked through all the facts, and I came to you with all the facts, and I said, you know what? I think Lizzie Borden might have just been innocent. And you guys were like, no.
Yeah, no, dude, dude, you get this moment. You're right. Matt and I were both very much against this.
And I was like, what? Like, I was like, no matter what I do, I can't get it right.
I know, you bastards. You told me to do
the research, and I researched, and I did the things and the stuff like you told me to do.
What was great about this is that Sarah showed us that it doesn't even matter if she was guilty or not in actuality, because the state completely drops the ball on the case.
What a terrible police investigation.
I think I said this to my cousin Chris after it was all over. I said, look, at this point, I actually secretly, I kind of hope she did it and she got away with it, because the state did such a horrible job. Like, I mean, the state's defense was, so we got this woman, and we don't really like the way she looks out of her face.
I didn't like the way she vibed in the interview. Yeah. It was like basically half of their evidence against her.
And the crazy thing I watch these like the true crime stuff.
Sure, of course.
And it's like, and like they always do, like, they'll have an interview, like the police interview stuff. I'll watch that stuff, and they'll have somebody there in the police chair, and then they'll be under the hot lamp, and they'll be like, oh, hey, tell us what you did for lunch on Tuesday. And they'll be like, well, I had a sandwich and I went to study, and then they'll pause and they'll be like, this person has changed their story from the first time. Only a person who's guilty will change their story. And then they'll do another story, the same program, the same narrator, the same people. And then they'll be like, oh, this person has a crystal clear memory of everything they did. That's an indicator that they memorized what they did and coming up with a story and sticking to it. That means they did it.
Bridget, the housemaid, did it.
Yeah, I think she did 100%. Nah, either that or Uncle Suspect.
Uncle Suspect, honestly,
Uncle Suspect.
He's probably the one that did it.
Also, what came out.
Great name too. By the way.
That happened accidentally. Yep. Like I can't put too much credit into the thought of that. That's just spontaneous.
It was great.
Yeah. Two also great things that
I think Sarah was using it by the end of it.
Yeah. The two great things I think that came out for me personally from this episode are two great band names: Uncle Suspect, and Blood Spattered Bobblehead.
Oh wow!
Oh yeah. That's
those sound like EPs though.
Yeah.
Well, Uncle Suspect sounds like a band name, but
like
what's better? That's the EP that Uncle Suspect. Puts
that
out.
could be. That very well could be.
Maybe we'll come to that. Willie the Deuce made an appearance on this show. Like, who knows what musically lies in store?
You never know.
You are the Weird Al of history, by the way. That's
Thank
a compliment.
You.
I want.
Coming from the Ace Frehley of history.
Yes,
that's a great.
No, but that was
Ace Frehley. Do you want to come on this show? If you listen to this, Ace Frehley, I admire the heck out of you. and I would love to interview.
Please leave the drama of Kiss behind.
And
You're not allowed on
you
the
can
show.
just
if you're
tell
gonna
us
bring
the
Bush.
history. You can tell us
Bush
history.
League, don't bring it.
Tell us the history.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, you know, at some point we'll do cool topics like that. And honestly, as much as we
do cool topics all the time, sir.
we do cool topics, but there's a number.
This seat is still warm from the last cool topic that we interviewed.
You're not wrong, but there's
I'm
so much
sitting in the chair of greatness right now.
we want to talk about other things, but we don't always find them episode appropriate. Who knows? Maybe we will come to Kiss.
Well, I
at
mean,
some
we
point
talked
on this
about
show.
Uncle Suspect.
Maybe we will just
We
kiss.
talked about
Maybe
Blood,
we
Sweat,
will
and
just
Bummer.
kiss on this show at some point. Like, who knows? All things are possible.
Now that's a little weird. I mean, I was in the closet with you for like a year, but now that I'm down here in your kind
Spacious.
of dimly lit basement.
You don't like the mood lighting?
Oh well, I love the mood lighting, which is a little disturbing. I'm telling you.
Weird. Do you not like Matt? Do you not like the candles?
It's
You
the,
know I love candles.
It's the fog machine and something over there in the corner that's kind of oddly shaped that
I
I'm a
hired
little
Kenny
concerned
G.
about.
That's Kenny G. Say
Oh,
hi.
that's literally Kenny
It's
G?
literally, shh.
Oh my goodness!
There's a saxophone over there.
I thought it
Be
was
very quiet. I
Is
hired him
he, is
for
he
Christmas.
playing Careless Whisper?
I hired him for Christmas, but then I was like, "Can you just hang out when the boys come over?"
He heard about
Yeah.
our closet shenanigans apparently.
So if you are interested in the weird things that we do, tough. We're never going to tell you.
And by the way, before you move on from Sarah Miller, I happen to know for a fact that Sarah Miller would like to join us once again.
Yes.
Oh yes,
We will do this.
We are very
So, a couple things I wanted to say before we sort of moved towards the end of the show itself, because we are close to wrap up time here. One, yes, we want to have Sarah Miller back on the show because we did a ton of time in season 2 on the Lincoln assassination, and we definitely took Mary Surratt to task. And Sarah Miller has written a book about Mary Surratt.
and we're coming up on the 160th for that.
So we're definitely going to do something again. You will hear the angelic voice of Sarah Miller gracing your ear receivers again in the near. I don't know what the word I was really looking for, but
We've had
receivers.
some legends. Literally, one just left the studio like 50 something minutes
No, it was
ago.
like an hour, like tops.
Whatever.
Yeah.
An hour tops ago. And Sarah Miller is one of them legends.
Oh,
in my
for sure.
opinion.
We just got to get her in studio. She lives in this crappy mitten.
Hey, now.
I know, right?
Oh, Matt's still
The
here.
only
Jesus.
M state that doesn't matter. I'm just kidding.
Wow.
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, look at the Mainer giving some love to Massachusetts.
He's
I know.
lashing
Yeah.
out. He's lashing
I'm lashing out. I'm lashing out from all the poop that all the four-funneled steamers that have been thrown at Maine.
Listen, before we take a quick look at the things ahead and get out of here, it is important to acknowledge that we're not always a success story. This was a summer of adversity. I mean, season 4, we had some wild audio issues that we could not figure
true.
out.
Oh, that was crazy.
We are currently also in the midst of an audio upgrade again right now. And you know what, Matt? That is a good thing you just showed me because my brain stopped, and I should acknowledge that in a minute. But I'll get there. We'll come back to that. I definitely had one of my most the words are hard for me
Fro
right
show?
now. Yeah, fro show, shosha.
Shosha. There you go.
One of my most frustrating experiences producing this show. We had something happen to the microphones throughout this summer that basically boiled down to a mixing issue. Certain knobs got touched, but I couldn't figure out how to fix it. It was like we had this weird thing that affected my microphones through most of the Hartwig cycle, Gettysburg and things like that, and it drove me bonkers. It did affect Matt
and
one
then
time.
it went to the Sarah Miller episode.
Sarah Miller
and you guys were
Matt.
troopers though. I mean, as audio guy, I mean, you guys were just plowed through it, and you guys have the voices that can actually handle this
Voices
stuff.
of angels?
Yeah.
Well,
I
you've
mean,
certainly
killer
got
angels.
yeah, there you,
If they're going to be angels, then they better be killer angels.
God damn it.
You know, if,
that's 2 for Parker.
That's
tonight.
2. It's 2 points. He does
So,
have 2 points.
I mean, this, I can't tell you what, 3-4 times I was under this table when you were like, well, maybe not quite like that.
We've made too many jokes before that joke.
That's funny. I've been under this table too many times this year, like running wires and plugging things in. I literally mean, okay, I want to just clarify. I literally mean actually under the table.
I know.
I was definitely under the table.
I know.
And under the table for a lot of this season. I just, I was just under there.
Stop.
But no, I mean, you've got, You guys are troopers.
Matt pointed out to me while I was trying to move the show forward, because we are clearly near the end of sanity here, that we did our Black Friday special again this year, and it was really neat because we got to, for one of the very rare times, talk to somebody outside of the capacity you think we would be talking to them in.
Right.
So we talked to historian Kyle Dalton, who is the executive director of the Union Mills Homestead right here in the home county for the History Things podcast, Carroll County, Maryland. But when we spoke to him, he was the, I believe, director of interpretation for the National Museum of Civil War Medicine here in Frederick. And guess what, guys and gals and ghouls and aliens? That's neither of those topics are why we had him here on our show. As you've heard since season 1 with Kevin Pollak, where we offered him to talk about everything from NASA to whatever he was interested to up until this moment, Kyle Dalton joined us to talk about the naval attachment to the Braddock expedition in 1755 during the French and Indian War. And that was a solid, like, little bit more than an hour, but it was really neat to get into a campaign we almost never
really
study.
Cool talk.
Yeah, we almost never study here in America. A war we almost never study here in America. And seeing the campaign through this really obscure lens of the naval component. And it was super interesting to see, because I personally, in my personal doubling up interaction with Kyle since I've met him to now, I've never worked with him in the capacity of anything other than medicine and his stewardship of the homestead. But before I ever met Kyle, Kyle was one of the leading researcher and writers recently of what, like, maritime life was like for the British Navy and things like that. I mean, he had a whole, like, blog on
Still
English
does. Yeah.
sailing. I mean, it's still there, but he doesn't update it as much as he used to. But it's like this incredible well of knowledge I didn't even know existed. And he came on our show and just poured it forth onto you. He said, you want to know about Braddock's tars? He said, let's go. And when I say tars, I mean sailors.
Yep.
And that was a really cool experience. And obviously, we do a few holiday-themed shows now. We debuted the Black Friday episode back in season 2 with Brandy Amer, and we talked about the history of video game and console production. And that was, honestly, we have a follow-up that we have been kicking around for, honestly, a few years at this point, because we want to do it, but we, again, want to do it right. But Brandy is growing what she does over at Gamer Amer. And we have kind of grown up in terms of our production capabilities. So we might be talking to Brandy again sooner than later on the airs. And who knows, maybe if you've got a few green, red, or blue shells, who knows? But you'll have to keep your eyes and ears peeled for that one. But we did a Black Friday episode this year, and we figured, you know what? Kyle's episode was perfect for that. It's this random topic that you're not expecting in the middle of the cooking theme, in the middle of the Lizzie Borden Hatchet theme. And it's kind of neat that you hear Kyle's name and you're expecting to hear a story about, medicine or, this homestead here in Carroll County. Nope. Boom. We're going out west into colonial America. We're going to the frontier, and we're taking a bunch of sailors with us into the mountains of western Pennsylvania. It's just such a random story. And he was incredible. Kyle's one of the best storytellers. And I feel like I say that about a lot of people, and I need to clarify something really quick. I mean it. When I say it about every single one of these people, I say it about, like, we have the fortunate situation, Matt and I, of being able to talk to people every day for our jobs, every single day. And we meet gifted storytellers every single day. Yep. But some of the ones we've had on this show are far and away on a different level. So I don't want to make it sound like I say this just to say this about every single one of our guests. I mean it. Like, I am in awe of all of these storytelling capabilities and experiences, because look, guys, when the guests are talking, Matt and I are the same as you all out there. We're just sitting here listening and absorbing and just in awe. And some of them just blow us away like it blows you away. So just so you know that, I mean it when I say that. So we had adversity, but mostly we had a bunch of fun. We had a bunch of laughs. We had an incredible year again. We were able to keep everything afloat without too much craziness. We, like always, we pushed our own limits. to see what we were capable of. We know a little bit about what we're not going to kind of do going forward. We know a lot. And you know what? I say that without, even me personally, I know that's probably a little more final in Matt's world. It's not for me. Like having been the lead
Get ready
that,
for cooking things with Pat.
the production of things, like it was actually a lot more fun because I got to see the whole process starting from how it looked in my mind through how it now is being presented to you all. So I think part of what maybe Matt gets stuck up on is he can't live in my mind. Not that you'd want to, buddy. It's kind of crazy in there. So we had some adversity, but mostly we had a lot of fun. And that is my favorite part is I get to have fun doing this show with my friends. Two of my very best friends in life. We get to sit and BS. And, Parker, I want to dap you up right now, buddy. We poke a lot of fun at you, but that's shtick. Parker is one of my best mates in life. He does more for this show than almost anybody will ever realize to help us get to the point where we're at every year, which is hopefully we're just at our pinnacle. Whatever our pinnacle is, hopefully we just live there. And Parker, you are a huge part of that. So thank you. As we end season 4 and get ready to head into our historic season 5,
It's
Matt,
historic and it hasn't even happened yet.
I mean, it's already happening because if you think about how production works, I mean, we're deep
they
into
don't
it.
know
We
that.
are.
You're right. See,
They
this is
don't
why
know
we
that.
hired him. Good job, Parker.
I think literally.
Words are hard. But
That's
Matt,
why I'm not the on-air talent.
I'll say this, man. When we look around at podcasts, getting to 5 years is a big deal.
It is a big deal.
We listen to podcasts in a number of storytelling subjects, blah, 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 blah. And not all of them make it past years 1 or 2. Years 3, you got a pretty good podcast. Year 4, all right, we're cooking year 5. This is going to be around. And we're hitting year 5. We started with the agreement that we would do it for a year and see how we felt.
Mm-hmm.
We got to year 2 and we said, we'll do it for 1 more year. We got to the end of that year and said, let's just do this.
Yep.
It's
That's
season
exactly
5.
right.
I'm ready to go. Are you ready to go?
Always ready to go, bud.
Are you ready to go, Parker?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I listen.
You sound so confident.
Back when we were
We got
all
Don
in the,
Knotts over here.
back when we were all in the closet, I said this is a great show.
I said it way back when.
Way
season
back
1,
when
in the
I knew
closet.
it. I knew this way back then, and I said it, and I've been on record as saying it.
Fellas, it's been a pleasure to do this show with you for 4 years and honestly into 5 years now because
It's
we're
almost
deep.
5
We're
years.
deep into the production of it already. You guys are going to hear episodes in season 5 that are very familiar to you in the sense that we're talking about the Civil War again. We're going to probably talk about the First World War again. We're talking about big ships again, shipwrecks, things like that. But we're going to talk about a world war. And it's not going to be the one that you're familiar with as far as our broadcasting is concerned. So we're going to step outside of a few boxes for ourselves. We're going to bring you some new stories, and we're very, very excited. So we hope that you guys have enjoyed the ride so far. We've made some small changes to the show for those of you who like music. There's a story I'm not going to tell, but we got a new song coming for you.
Mm-hmm.
When you open up season 5, it's going to be like, oh, what is this familiar cup of coffee? And then you drink it and you're like, what is this new flavor? But it's a great flavor and you're going to enjoy it. But so we're doing a lot of things to kind of let you know that we're acknowledging the moment, which for us is season 5 is a big one. So from the bottom of my hearts, thank you very much. For the bottom of Matt's and Parker's hearts, again, thank you very much. You guys have made all of this possible. We can't do it without you. So without anything left, enjoy your holidays, guys. Enjoy your time with your families. Enjoy your time with your friends. If you're by yourself, enjoy your time with yourself, right? Like, most people don't really think about that other than a silly way, but like, if you are needing to explore something like a book you wanted to read, a movie you wanted to watch, or an album you want to listen to, do it. This is a great time to do it. This is a time of year that should be filled with light and love. And if you are able to do it, we encourage you to do it. And if you
Like
need
Matilda.
yes, like Matilda, you should watch the movie. And if you want to hang out with us to find some of that light and love, we are honored to be able to provide that for you. So, for season 4, here on the History Things podcast, for our producer Parker Russell, for my co-host Matt Waters, I am Pat McGuire. This is the end of the amateur hour. I guess if you could ever have even called it that. We are full go for launch. Get ready to be reintroduced to who we are. If you've been with us since day 1, thank you. If you're new to the show, you need to get hip to what this is. So up next, literally in the episode queue, is Matt and I saying hello again, telling you who we are, what this show is, and then we're kicking it off. with the banger. Unfortunately, it's going to be the last episode from the audio problems. My microphone quality is not the best, not the worst, but it's not the best like you're hearing it right now. But moving forward from that moment, we have left season 4's audio recording problems in the past.
All 4 of our funnels are working.
We're working.
Fully functional.
Fully steaming.
Fully armed and operational.
Yes.
This has been the History Things podcast saying thank you. We love you. We will catch you all later.
Have a good night.
You've been listening to the History Things podcast. Follow the guys on Facebook and Instagram at the History Things podcast for all the latest news and exclusives. Make sure to also follow Pat and Matt on their social medias at History Things with Pat and at Matt Borders Books. Have a question, comment, or compliment for the show? Send us an email at historythingspodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed the show.